what makes some hurricanes more dangerous than others? Let's explain that. Hey everyone, and welcome to Things Explained. With all the talk on the news of Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma, several of my friends have asked about how hurricanes work. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hurricanes are large cyclones that develop in the western hemisphere, generally off the coast of the United States. Warm air tends to rise above cold air, and high pressure tends to push air to lower pressures. During the hurricane season, these phenomena become agitated with the potential to start large cyclones. The categories of these cyclones is dependent on sustained wind speeds. Wind speeds can vary drastically from moment to moment, so the word sustained refers to the bottom of the speed range. A cyclone is named a tropical storm when it reaches sustained wind speeds of 39 miles per hour. The tropical storm becomes a hurricane at 74 miles per hour. Category 2 hurricane has sustained winds of 96 miles per hour. A Category 3 at 111 miles per hour is considered a major hurricane. A Cat 4 is 130 miles per hour. And the highest category, 5, has sustained winds of over 157 miles per hour. Now imagine driving down the highway that fast, with the top down, in the pouring rain. That's what it would feel like in your face. Now I'm not a climatologist, so I'm not going to talk about how these things form. But I am a civil engineer, so let's get into how these storms affect our cities. Category 1 and 2 hurricanes are severe storms with the potential to do damage only to the things with poor structural integrity, such as people and power lines. So stay inside, and keep candles and batteries handy. With wind speeds of 111 miles per hour, a Category 3 hurricane will destroy anything with poor structural integrity and damage even properly built structures. This is when major losses of power and clean water begin to occur. Category 4s are of similar destructive capability, only with the potential to have a much larger area of influence. Category 5 hurricanes are characterized by devastatingly high wind speeds. The cutoff of 157 miles per hour is the speed where wind starts destroying everything. Very few structures are able to avoid destruction from a Category 5, so even taking cover is not an option. This storm doesn't care about proper engineering, it just sucks the materials right off the buildings until they fail. Evacuation is the only option in this case. Aside from wind speeds, there are other variables that influence the danger of a hurricane, such as how much rain it dumps and the size of the storm surge. Hurricane Katrina back in 2005 was the most costly hurricane to make landfall in the United States. However, it was only a Category 3 hurricane by the time it made landfall. What made this hurricane so much more costly than any other? The damage risk of a hurricane, or any other disaster for that matter, is dependent on the strength of the threat and how much is in the path of destruction. Many Category 5 hurricanes don't actually make landfall in populated areas, so they don't create as much of a risk and are less concerning. This is why we never talk about the terrible storms that are literally always ravaging Jupiter. Hurricane Katrina hit the populated New Orleans area, home to over 1 million people. Similarly, Hurricane Harvey struck near Corpus Christi and continued towards Houston, passing through an area of over 6 million people. In both of these hurricanes, the primary damage was in the flooding. To understand the damage to New Orleans, I'll give you a rundown of the geologic history of the area. You probably already know that over time, rivers can cut through stone and carve out valleys, but all that earth has to go somewhere. Over the last thousands and millions of years, the Mississippi River dumped all of this sediment right off the coast, essentially forming a low-elevation peninsula. Early settlers decided that this would be a great place for a port city. Over time, we started draining some of the leftover pockets of ocean and created levees to prevent ocean waves from coming into the below sea level portions of the city. Katrina concentrated her Category 3 winds over the levee system of New Orleans, which caused it to fail. Without the protection of the levees, the storm blew ocean water back over land, putting much of the city underwater once more. Although the sustained wind speeds only merited a Category 4 for Hurricane Harvey, it was still the wettest recorded storm in the United States, dumping over 4 feet of rain in some places. Even though the death toll for this hurricane was lower than others, the sheer amount of water caused massive flooding, which resulted in the destruction of thousands of homes. This much water can do terrible damage, which is why we don't build things in 4 feet of water. So you may be wondering, what's the best way to help hurricane victims? The first thing you need to remember is that the damage to the infrastructure can be immense. This includes roads, bridges, buildings, power lines, and gas lines. These create new hazards that can plague those who try to re-enter the city. Remember that immediate rescue should be left only to professionals. If you want to help at this time, the best thing you can do is donating to a relief organization. Oftentimes, churches are very involved in humanitarian aid, so that's a great place to start. But you may want to double check that's where the resources are going. Once the professionals have identified that things are safe, you can begin to look for ways to help directly. So there you have it. There's a lot more that I want to say on the topic, but I couldn't fit it all into this video. Do you have any other questions about the dangers of hurricanes? Leave a comment below, and I may feature it in a future video. If you learned something, like and subscribe. Be sure to share with your friends who may be affected by hurricanes this season.